4 kilometers down, a steel curse is turning to dust.
Imagine standing in the darkest place on Earth, 4 kilometers beneath the surface of the Atlantic Ocean. The water pressure here is massive enough to crush a military tank into a lump of scrap metal in the blink of an eye. The temperature hovers just above freezing. And there, in the absolute silence of this oceanic graveyard, a steel monster lies waiting. It is no legend. It is the Titanic. For over a century, we thought we knew its story. An iceberg, a fatal gash, and 1,500 souls lost to the abyss. But we were wrong. In September 2024, an expedition camera focused on the port side of the bow and captured a shocking sight, 5 meters of the legendary railing where Jack and Rose once stood in James Cameron's cinematic masterpiece, the ultimate symbol of being king of the world, had vanished without a trace. It had snapped, disintegrated, and collapsed deep into the mud. The Titanic is dying all over again. But before the final shards of steel turn to dust, groundbreaking expeditions in 2024 and 2025, powered by the most advanced digital scanning technology in human history, have blown open rooms untouched for 113 years. What they found inside wasn't just gold or jewelry. It was a steam valve locked wide open, a divine statue staring back up at the heavens, and a military secret buried under the guise of an archaeological search. Welcome to the final chapter of a historic journey. Today we unlock the secure vaults of the Titanic, expose the media lies of the past century, and look directly at the raw, unvarnished truth unfolding at the bottom of the ocean.
To understand the shock of these recent discoveries, we must travel back in time to April 15th, 1912. When the Titanic sank, the world experienced a media earthquake, but it was an earthquake of chaos and lies. If you look back at the French newspaper Le Petit Parisien from April 16th, 1912, you will shudder at the massive headline, "The world's largest ocean liner hits an iceberg. Fortunately, all 2,358 people have been saved." The infancy of wireless telegraphy at the time, combined with the sheer arrogance of the White Star Line, created a veil of illusion, spreading false hope to thousands of desperate families. But the truth is always brutal. Look at the front page of the Daily Mirror, published in Britain on April 20th, 1912, an original print recently discovered fully intact in an antique wardrobe after 112 years. The photograph captures a heartbreaking scene in Southampton. 2 women leaning on each other, staring blankly into the void as they wait for the casualty list. The paper's headline read, "Amidst thousands of tragedies, the wreck of the Titanic becomes the most terrible tragedy in world history. Human arrogance had been drowned by an iceberg." Yet there was a truth the media of that era never knew, one that took decades to come to light. The discovery of the Titanic's wreck on September 1st, 1985 by oceanographer Robert Ballard was actually a cover story for a top-secret military operation during the Cold War. The New York Times later confirmed the United States Navy had secretly funded Ballard's expedition, but their primary target wasn't the Titanic. They needed him to locate 2 American nuclear submarines that had mysteriously sunk in the 1960s, the Thresher and the Scorpion. Were their nuclear reactors leaking? Was the Soviet Union trying to salvage them? Those were the critical questions for the Pentagon. The US Navy gave Ballard a condition: if he completed his mission to find the 2 submarines ahead of schedule, he could use the remaining days to look for the Titanic. And history smiled upon him. In a window of just 12 spare days, Ballard found the first boiler, and shortly after, the splayed silhouette of the bow emerged on the radar monitor. A military black op had accidentally returned a 20th century marvel to humanity.
For a century, we viewed the Titanic through the cinematic lens of James Cameron. But modern science does not believe in Hollywood. In April 2025, National Geographic, in collaboration with Magellan, dropped a media bombshell, the documentary Titanic Digital Resurrection. By deploying submersible robots to capture over 715,000 high-resolution photos and millions of laser measurements, scientists created a flawless digital twin of the Titanic. And it is this very model that has shattered long-held historical theories. First is the theory of the giant gash. Newspapers in 1912 painted dramatic pictures of a 100-meter tear along the hull. But laser scanning beneath the mud proves otherwise. The iceberg did not slice the ship open. Instead, the crushing pressure of the ice pressed hard against the side, snapping the low-quality iron rivets and creating a series of narrow but fatal buckled seams. The total area of these openings was a mere 1 to 2 square meters, but they were in a catastrophic location, stretching across 6 watertight compartments. The ship deemed unsinkable was designed to survive a maximum of only 4 flooded compartments. Steel surrendered to basic laws of physics. Next is the cinematic sinking angle. In the 1997 film, the stern was depicted as rising to a terrifying 90-degree angle perpendicular to the sea before snapping in half. However, structural analysis from the 2025 digital twin reveals a different truth. The ship broke at a much lower angle between 23 and 30 degrees. As the compartments filled with water, the weight became too massive, and the bending stress exceeded the structural limits of the deck's steel girders. The colossal block of steel tore apart. The stern did not stand straight up, but instead twisted and churned violently, far more chaotic and devastating than anything we saw on the silver screen. Finally, the disappearance of the grand staircase. Many divers have tried to locate the magnificent oak staircase inside the ship, only to find a gaping, empty void. Science has finally solved the riddle. As water violently breached the massive glass dome above the deck, it created an immense upward hydrodynamic pressure. The entire oak staircase structure, which was not bolted down to the decks, but merely held by wood joinery, floated like a massive cork and was ripped out into the open ocean during that fateful night. What remains today is a cavernous shaft guiding robotic rovers into the ship's deepest, most secretive levels.
As the robotic rover, Jason Jr. stepped through the deep shaft of the ancient staircase. It entered a frozen world. On B deck, where the rushing currents could not reach, there are rooms preserved in a state of eerie perfection. This is the Turkish bath, when the rover's halogen lights pierced the dark. The dark scientists held their breath. The mosaic tiles bearing blue-green Eastern patterns were still stuck firmly to the walls. Bronze lamps and teak wood tables lay scattered around as if the aristocrats had just stood up and left a few minutes ago. Why did the wood not rot here? The answer lies in marine biology. At a depth of 4,000 meters, the total absence of light, freezing temperatures and extremely low oxygen levels prevented wood-boring organisms from thriving, turning the room into an authentic time capsule of 1912. But the most human and emotionally stirring discovery lies at the absolute bottom of the ship, the engine room, and the boiler systems. In the 1912 investigative hearings, a question was raised. Why did the Titanic's electrical lights remain on until just 2 minutes before the ship sank entirely? Why was the wireless telegraph able to broadcast SOS signals until the final moments? The answer was found on the 2024 3D scans. A primary steam pressure regulating valve leading to the generators remains locked in the fully open position. This is undeniable scientific evidence. All 33 engineers and dozens of firemen did not flee. They stayed deep within the scorching boiler rooms, suffocating in toxic smoke and freezing water, relentlessly keeping the steam valves open to power the generators. They sacrificed their lives so those on deck could have light to find the lifeboats, so the radio men had power to call for help. not a single one of the 33 engineers survived. That open steam valve is a steel monument to the ultimate courage of mankind. Leaving the hull behind, the rover ventured into the debris field, stretching over 2 nautical miles. This area holds tens of thousands of silent, heartbreaking stories. Pairs of leather shoes, men's boots, and women's slippers lie side by side in the mud. Leather is the only material local bacteria cannot consume, and those shoes are the sole remaining traces of where bodies once lay together before being entirely reclaimed by the ocean. And on the final day of the 2024 expedition, an image emerged that broke millions of hearts: the bronze statue of Diana of Versailles. This nearly 2-meter decorative centerpiece of the first-class lounge, long thought to be lost forever, was found lying face up in the gray sediment. The features of the goddess's face, from her eyelashes to her lips, remain perfectly intact, proud and solitary, staring back up at the searchlights like a fallen angel, guarding the souls of the 1,500 people resting there.
Yet even that angel cannot protect the Titanic from the laws of nature. The ship is being eaten alive from within. In 2010, scientists discovered a unique species of bacteria thriving on the wreck named Halomonas titanicae. They feed on iron. With every passing day, they devour 100 to 200 kilograms of the ship's steel hull, leaving behind fragile icicles of rust that crumble like ash. Experts predict that within 30 to 40 years, the entire bow section will collapse, and by the end of this century, the great icon of the 20th century will be nothing more than a faint rust stain on the ocean floor. Facing this inevitable decay, a moral war has raged for 4 decades. On one side are commercial salvage companies that have recovered over 5,500 artifacts to display in exhibitions from Las Vegas to London, arguing that if they don't bring them up, they will disappear forever. On the other side are Robert Ballard and purist preservationists who fiercely object. To them, the Titanic is not a treasure chest. It is not an archaeological site. It is a mass grave. Taking anything from this site is no different than grave robbing and desecrating the dead. When looking at the razor-sharp 3D scans of 2025, or when remembering the tragedy of the Titan submersible in 2023, where 5 wealthy individuals lost their lives attempting to reach this very wreck, I am struck by a profound lesson regarding human arrogance and compassion. The Titanic sank in 1912 because humanity believed they had conquered nature, that they had engineered an entity that was unsinkable. And more than a century later, we continue to display that same arrogance by trying to turn a tear-soaked cemetery into an elite tourist destination, a place to satisfy curiosity and extract commercial profit. The Titan disaster felt like a chilling warning from the ocean. There are places that do not belong to man, and there are sorrows that must be respected with silence. In my view, the fact that the Titanic is being consumed by bacteria is not a tragedy. It is a form of natural poetic justice. Let those rusting steel beams dissolve and return to Mother Ocean. Let the statue of Diana, the open valve of those heroic engineers, and those lonely leather shoes rest undisturbed in their absolute darkness. The memory of the Titanic should not be preserved through fragments of scrap metal displayed in glass cases inside Las Vegas casinos. It must be preserved within our conscience, a reminder of the fragile boundary between life and death, of the limitations of human technology, against nature, and above all of the basic dignity we owe to those who have passed. It is time to turn off the submersible's searchlights, withdraw the laser scanners, and return absolute peace to the Titanic. Let the legendary ship dissolve into the void, ending a century of storms in the headlines to begin a true eternity at the bottom of the deep blue sea.